What's up, y'all? It's Carson here. I'm here playing some Magic Arena. I thought I would give a quick deck tech on this interesting deck that I have that I like to call CMONSTRUCTS. It is a construct tribal deck, you could say. So we're running a bunch of really interesting stuff that is not amazing, but together it just works and does some really cool, unique things. So we'll get into that in a second. We will get into that in a second. First, I have this pack. Gonna crack it. Check it out. I like Footlight Fiend. Everything else here isn't that impressive to me. That's alright. That's a decent rare. I don't play Merfolk, but I might. So let's get into it. I made probably like 5 different versions of this deck in different colors, and ended up just kind of sticking to this mono blue version because I think it's just the most efficient. I tried doing some stuff with Joyra. I'll show in a second. Right here. She's interesting. I only have one of her, so I don't think it would have been. I think she would have been good as a 2-of, and I think she might be worth the splash. But we have other ways to draw cards in this deck, and playing her on turn 4 doesn't really get us anywhere. Whereas we have some other turn 4 plays that are decent. So let's get into it. So first of all, I'm running a bunch of 1-ofs in this deck. It's still a work in progress. I still think that I could probably put some more wild cards into this deck, but I got to the point where I was just kind of beating a lot of people, and the deck matches you up with some just like below average other decks, so you end up just kind of like stomping some people. Some matches you lose and you kind of just, it's okay, but we end up doing pretty well for the most part. So from the top down, we have a Mox Amber. I think this could be okay as a 2-of, but right now as a 1-of, it's perfectly fine. I get it almost every game, I would say. And the games that I don't, it's not really like I'm missing something. The fact that it needs a legendary creature means that that's even more or less like necessary for me to have, because I have to have one of my legends to basically be able to use it at all. So I'll get into something cool with this later, but yeah, that is what it is. It adds a mana of any color among creatures or planeswalkers you control that are legendary. Next we have Fountain of Renewal. This is a really good turn 1 play. I usually will drop this down over my other turn 1s, or my other 1-drops. It kind of allows us to just stay in the game a little bit while we get set up with some other doofusy stuff. And it can also draw us out of some bad hands if necessary. And especially since mono red is going around so much in the current standard, which is Ravnica Allegiance. This helps us with that a lot if you face off against some dorky mono red burn decks. 1 Prying Blade. I end up getting this a lot for some reason, and I don't know if it belongs in the deck, but it definitely fits, and when you do get it, it can be really fun attaching it to one of our other 1/1s. And I'll get into why that is in a second. Basically, it gives your creature a +1/+0, and when it deals damage, you create a treasure token that can add mana. It's a 1-drop with a 2 equip. It's decent. I'm using it more for the interactions that happen with it and the deck. Sparring Construct, it's a construct. This is our first construct on the list. It's a 1-drop, or it's a 1/1, 1-drop. When it dies, you put a counter on a target creature. This doesn't really matter to us. A lot of times, like, this card will die on its own. That's why I don't necessarily drop it on turn 1. A lot of decks are running shocks, so if this card gets shocked on turn 2 or turn 1 of your opponent's turn, then you're not putting a counter on anything, but it's not a big deal. This card pretty much does what it does, and with the deck it's really nice, but more on that later. What matters here is that it's a construct, really. Chart of Course, this card is perfect for this deck. On turn 2 you can play it and just discard a random 1-drop or anything that you don't necessarily need. We end up actually running into a lot of lands, which is good. I feel like the mana base in this deck is actually really smooth because of its mono color. Oops. And then, I mean, most turns we're going to be swinging with some random stuff. And this card specifically works really well with Chart of Course. So yeah, that is what it is. It draws us out of some stupid stuff. Really cheap. And yeah, it's a good card. Tetsuko. Creatures you control with power or toughness 1 or less can't be blocked. This is a 2-drop, 1/3. It's legendary, which is what matters, and the effect is really nice because if not all of most of our constructs, if not all of them, have 1 power or 1 toughness. So with Tetsuko, swinging in is incredibly easy. You get Tetsuko almost every game. It's a 3-of. When you attach a Prying Blade to a Sparring Construct or another 1-drop, or a 1/1, and you play Tetsuko, that's an easy mana. It makes it a 2/1, you can still swing unblockable. Attaching it to Tetsuko doesn't work, however, because it will make it a 2/3, but it's still a decent blocker in that case. So yeah, 3 of those. We got a playset of the VOLTAIC Servant. This is a card that I have probably never seen in any other deck, but it's a construct. It's a 1/3, and its effect says at the beginning of your end step, untap target artifact. This is actually super good in this deck, and that's why this the cover of the deck is this card. It's just so crispy and interactive with the rest of the shit in this deck. So, I mean, on its own, it has vigilance basically. You attack with it, you untap it. With everything else here, Mox Amber, you can untap that, get an extra mana. I used to run some other mana dork artifacts that you could untap, but I ended up not having any instants to kind of like use with that because it happens at your end step, so by the time you untap, you're not in your main phase, you can't cast sorceries or creatures. So for the most part, we're just untapping creatures with this, but there's a really strong interaction with this card and something else that I'll get into in a second. Deep Freeze, I used to run a 4-of this, but I think it's fine as a 2-of right now. It just turns a creature into a ability list 0/4 defender. It's our pseudo removal, and with Tetsuko we can attack right through it, basically. So giving them a defender doesn't really matter, and we end up having a lot of flyers, which you'll see in a second. Jace, he's here as just kind of a filler. He can become basically a distraction, and in the games that they let him go, he just does his thing. Sometimes you get to ult him and make... I mean, I recorded a game that I can try to attach where I had like 7 or 8 Jaces, and at the end I just created a bunch of 2/2 illusions, and I swung for lethal next turn. They just weren't prioritizing killing Jace at all. He just doesn't really seem like a threat, and he, honestly, if he dies, we don't really care. We usually get to use his +1. if we can, and then if not, we'll just make an illusion for fun, which is just a tiny threat. So yeah, not much else to say there. Sai, this card is one of the MVPs of the deck. Basically, when you cast an artifact, you create a 1/1 colorless Thopter with this guy, and he has an activated ability that allows you to sacrifice 2 artifacts and draw a card. The second effect is good in a pinch, but a lot of times we don't end up using it. I find that I'll wind up using it in response to somebody trying to kill one of my artifacts. People love to kill VOLTAIC Servant because it just is an annoyance. So I'll just sack some stuff in response and draw cards instead of just losing my artifacts. So, like I said, we're making a lot of flyers. This card specifically, people will often just kind of let him sit there because he doesn't seem like a threat, and especially the turn you play him, sometimes he's not a threat. But he can actually be really, really strong in this deck. For instance, a game I played probably a couple minutes ago, I had a turn 3 Sai and a Mox Amber in my opening hand. I decided to save the Mox Amber for when I played Sai, which is actually probably the right way to go. So you drop Sai, play Mox Amber, get your Thopter, and then you have that 1 mana open because he is legendary, and you can play any of your 1-drops. So on turn 3, you're dropping Sai, a Mox Amber, a 1-drop, and you're getting 2 artifact Thopters, which can be really strong and set you up really quickly. So we're running a 3 of this guy. He shows up a lot. Super useful. Skittering Surveyor. This card is a construct. I swapped out, I think it was Manalith for this card, or some other 3 mana artifact dork. Basically, it does what it does. He searches your library for a basic land. This can be really useful in the case that we are stuck on lands. He's also a construct, so he procs all of our construct interactions. He creates tokens. He's an artifact, obviously. And yeah, not much else to say. Gets us out of our mana locks. We have 2 sleeps. This is just a game ender right here, or can save your ass in a pinch. It just taps all creatures target player controls. Those creatures don't untap. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. I was running a 3 of at one point. I ended up just getting it a lot and not really having anything else to play with it. So it's good as a top deck. I wouldn't say it's a win more card, but it's more of like, it's just nice to have if you're getting overrun or you need to just swing. I have won the Antiquities War. For the first 2 turns, this card lets you look at the top 5 cards of your library and pick an artifact from them and put it in your hand. This can be really good. It basically allows us to just kind of like sift through and pick a specific artifact that we might need. And then on turn 3, all of your artifacts become 5/5 threats. This is alright. I haven't really ever seen this play out so that it like wins me a game, but what I will say is that people get scared of it and they will do anything they can to stop this from happening. And when you're dropping not even just your constructs, but you have Mox Ambers, Fountain of Renewals, Prying Blades, this all turns into 5/5 threats, which can be pretty strong. I run 1 Time of Ice. This is just a pseudo removal for us. You can tap 2 creatures, they don't untap, and then turn 3 of having this down, they all go back to their respective hands. It's kind of a sleep simulator, but it's a little... I can't really tell which one of these I like better, but I think they kind of have their own purposes in this deck. So next I have a Karn. I would like to have 2 Karns in this deck, or even 3, in place of probably one of these. But for now, it's good as is. When you get it, it's really good. We usually are just minusing to create a 0/0 colorless construct, and this is just super strong. Not only does it fit into our tribal theme, you can -2 twice and still have Karn on the board. By the time you play Karn, you know, you could have an artifact down on each turn before that, and you're making 4/4 artifacts, and the next turn you're making another one, and they turn into 5/5s, and then they just keep getting stronger from there. This is just another key in the puzzle. We're just making tons of threats that, I think what makes the deck interesting is that oftentimes people don't really know what to handle or what to try to kill, because there's just so much random shit dropping down that doesn't really like impact a lot, but together it's like it all adds up. So then we have a Traxos, 2 Traxos. I think 3 could fit in the deck, but it's legendary, so I think 2's fine. When it comes down, people get really scared. It enters tapped, and it doesn't untap until you play a historic spell. So if you attack and you don't have something to untap it with, it's going to stay tapped. It has trample. It's a construct. What's really good with this card that I was going to mention earlier, if you have VOLTAIC Servant down and you play this, the turn you play, it's untapped. And together, you're untapping Traxos no matter what, every single turn. With some of our other cards, this becomes a bigger threat. And again, this is just another freaky card that comes down on top of Karn and our other threats. I run 1 Gilded Lotus. I don't really know if this fits here, but the times I have it, it's good. It does its, it does its job. It just taps for 3 mana of any one color. This fits perfectly into the mono blue theme. And yeah, it's an artifact. It can become a construct, or a 5/5 with Antiquities War. Yep. That's pretty much it. We run a Vanquisher's Banner. This card is really good for this deck. Dropping this on turn 5, or whenever all your constructs are big. You can even, sometimes if I'm really deep with Psi, I'll just name Thopter, and you got a bunch of 2/2 flying Thopters. But usually I stick to the construct theme because that's what we draw, and you can have some crazy kind of cantrippy turns where you're smashing a 1 mana construct, and you're drawing a 1 mana construct, and a lot of stuff in this deck is really cheap, so you end up kind of just dropping a bunch of stuff, drawing a bunch of cards, cycling a bunch. So in this deck, this is a really good card. Yeah, it gives all your constructs +1/+1. Pretty good. What this does counteract is the Tetsuko interactions, which is fine, because we still end up having Thopters that can fly through, and so on. And on her own, Tetsuko can attack. Let's see. 1 River's Rebuke. This is in here just because I was running into kind of some decks that would overrun me, and I would just kind of be facing off with them for a really long time. We would both be back and forth just making a bunch of creatures. For instance, I played against a Merfolk deck, and we were both just creating tons of creatures. We had no removal. In the end, I go overrun because Merfolk is just a little bit more meta, I think. They have some cards that allow you to just kind of snowball really well. But so yeah, this can be really good, especially against token creators. This destroys all those tokens. The last spell, Immortal Sun. It's a 1/of. If you don't know what this card does, it's actually amazing in tons of creature decks, tons of tribal decks. 6-mana artifact. Players can't activate Planeswalker's loyalty abilities. So for us, this isn't a big deal. By the time we drop this, we've probably already used up Karn if we had him. And Jace, you know, if we had Jace down, whatever, we don't care about losing Jace. This changes the game for us. All your spells cost 1 less. Creatures you control get +1/+1. You draw an additional card. That's everything we want in this deck. We want to be drawn a little bit so we can keep ourselves consistently dropping constructs. And with Vanquisher's Banner, you know, your creatures are +2/+2 this time. You're drawing cards for the construct trigger. You're drawing an extra card per turn. Plus, your spells cost 1 colorless less to cast. This is amazing in this deck because a lot of our shit has a colorless mana in it. If not all of it. The only thing that doesn't get affected by this is Mox Amber. Everything else has colorless mana in it. There's no double blue, anything like that. We're dropping 0. We're dropping Aspiring Constructs for 0 with this, which is awesome and keeps us just fueling. Especially with Vanquisher's Banner, you're dropping shit for 0. You're drawing cards. So that's, I mean, that when you get this down and you have a board developed, the game just kind of goes from there, in your favor. 18 islands, 4 Zhalfirin Voids. This card I found towards the end of my creation of this deck, and it's essential. There's no downside to having it, other than if we only draw Zhalfirin Voids, we can't cast our other blue spells, but we can cast every other creature in the deck. That allows us to look through our deck a little bit with the Scry effect, and it's just a really solid card for this deck. So that's all for the deck. I have a tiny sideboard set up that basically, yeah, haven't really focused on the sideboard. I've been playing this in best of 1s, but I'd like to take it over to best of 3s sometime. I just feel like it would probably get destroyed. It's not a super competitive deck, but yeah, I'll try to play a game with it. Hopefully my recording doesn't stop. Also, I'm sure there are some other good cards that could belong in this deck. Specifically, I think there might be a couple lands that would be useful in this deck to have, but maybe not. There is also a... There is a construct from Ravnica Allegiance that I think it's called Gate Colossus. Costs 1 less for each gate you control. I considered making a gate version of this deck, but yeah, I don't really think it's necessary just to have an 8/8. We have Traxos and some other really good shit. Maybe I'll make a version like that. That would be fun, but for now, I'm sticking with this. So I dropped Zhalfirin Void first turn. No reason not to. I have other islands. If I didn't, never mind. So anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and attack here. Our VOLTAIC Servant essentially has Vigilance. Gonna play Skittering Surveyor. Find a land. Untap my guy. So as you can see, these are 2 seemingly non-threatening creatures. If this guy's mono green, we might have some trouble, but we have Time of Ice. Alright, so here's a sweet interaction. Mox Amber and Traxos. Perfecto. So I'm gonna go ahead and swing. Play Traxos. And I think I'll save this for the case that I mean, I can play this whenever. That's the sweet thing about it. For the case that I draw a Alright. So there you go. The deck's super fucking good. Wins every game. Anyways. Let's try one more. If I can get in a game before my recording dies, that would be great. What I was going to say is, you can hold on to Mox Amber until you draw a Sai. I feel like that's, unless you need the mana at the time, I feel like it's fine to do that. It's a free Thopter. It's very untraditional ramp. Here's an interesting hand. So we're going to start off with Fountain of Renewal. Having Prying Blade on turn 3 is good, but I guess we can see if he drops a mountain, then we're definitely playing Fountain of Renewal first. We could Prying Blade, turn 2 Tetsuko, turn 3 attach Prying Blade, but then we're not dropping anything else. I think we'll just Fountain of Renewal here. We might need to crack it to draw out. We might need to draw out of this hand a little bit. We're looking pretty high curved to 2 mana, but we can play all this. This is a card I considered, but I don't think it's necessary. I had a feeling we would draw this, so I think I just play Servant and just chill on that for now. Tetsuko can be used almost as a sorcery in the case that you have a developed board with a bunch of 1/1s. You can just drop a Tetsuko, swing through. Plus, if I play her now, she's bound to get killed somehow. See, we're running up against just some interesting decks. I'm not saying that these are bad cards, but some very untraditional decks. Alright, we're a little bit screwed here. I think I play Prying Blade and just pass. Next turn, if we yield a land, we're gonna probably deep freeze something. Whatever his 4-drop is. Yeah. Yeah, we'll probably be deep freezing that. That'll take down the Gearsmith. Give me a land. Okay. Alright. So that's a problem. We'll drop Tetsuko. Might need to double block the Gearsmith. Attack for free. In the case that we draw land, we're deep freezing the Juggernaut unless he plays something bigger. And hopefully we can go from there. If he kills Tetsuko, that's okay. We have another one. I think I take 5 for now. Fountain of Renewal is helping me out. Otherwise, I might block. That's a quarter of my health. Alright, perfect. So now we just deep freeze the Jug. Hopefully it doesn't have a cancel. Looks like he might. Disperse. Okay. That's alright. I think I do swing here. He attacks for 4. Yeah, I can still block. Fuck. Maybe we should be attaching Prying Blade for mana at some point. If we don't try a land next turn. See, this is why Zolfarian Void can be so good early on. Oh, takes the Tetsuko. Double blocks? No. Single block. Yeah, block with the Relic Runner, brother. Got it. Okay. It's okay, we have another Tetsuko. So I think I just... Time of Ice, probably the Gearsmith and the Juggernaut. Okay. We are in action. I'll take that. It might be greedy, but I think I want to attach and Tetsuko and swing. That'll give me 5 mana next turn in the case that... I think I need to get this going, actually. Just to not take a shit ton of damage right now. We have Psy on top. Makes our potential to get lands kind of tough. We'll have to wait another turn, but hopefully... Relic Runner is swinging for free. So yeah, I think we what's cost them? Do we tap this? Prying Blade, attach, and Sigh? I think we just go for the unblockable guy and probably play our Psy. Swing. We have River's Rebuke in 2 turns. If we draw, there's a land. So I think we did this, and then we did this. It doesn't exactly work how I wanted it to. That's okay. Yeah, he just blocks it with the 4/4. That's okay. We will pass for now. And hopefully we draw a land. Immortal Sun just kind of will carry us. We're gonna be getting smacked. Oh yeah, we need to play Immortal Sun and make some flyers for sure. I'd hope he doesn't have some big removal. Yeah. Okay. Alright, well that gives us a land, and we can actually attach I think we just pass here. We can't swing through to make Prying Blade do anything here. Next turn we could with the Thopter, but I think we're just going to be blocking the NG. And in response we could sack this and something else for a draw, but I think we're conserving our creatures for now. We could just swing this guy. I think we want to block. Yeah, I think we just rivers eventually. That'll really slow him down. That'll slow him down. Yeah. Oh man, what's this? Okay. It's alright. That means Reaver's Rebuke is pretty good at this point. I don't think we have the time to Immortal Sun right now, which is sad, but we're gonna need to do this. That's fine. Oh shit! Oh! Oh! Oh, that gives him Seal Away? That's alright. Oh, I don't know why I did that. That was stupid. I did not see the Summoning Sickness on here. I wish that was a little more apparent. I think we swing. Get ourselves an extra mana. And then this is fine. We can get a flyer. Untap our VOLTAIC. Okay, so he'll probably drop as many things as he can. He might leave Seal Away open, I'm guessing. I know he has it. Yeah, it's right there. Okay, that's fine. We have unblockables. I can attach Prying to this if I draw a land. Okay. We're gonna be doing this, I think. This makes stuff extra cheap. Extra cool. We can't attack right now because of the engineer, but we can block it on the swing back. Maybe I should have attacked, then dropped it. That's okay. No attacks here. Untap nothing. Gonna have to hopefully end this game soon. Otherwise my recording is done. Yeah, so here he probably leaves Seal Away open. Nope. Okay. In the case that he swings with Engineer, yep, that's fine. That's good. That is what we want. Now he has no way to effectively block our stuff, so we can probably be swinging out in a second. And we're drawing 2 cards. So this is how we don't have the banner, so we can't be drawing a bunch of stuff off of playing things, but we're still casting stuff for super cheap. And we could even do this. F4. I don't want to do that. So what I think I'll do is whatever I attack with, he can kill with Seal Away. I think I swing there. He seals away the Surveyor, maybe. Oh, I can untap 2 things. That's pretty good. Yeah, so in the case that he doesn't kill my... that's fine. I probably should have side. Yeah. That would have been smart. So that's one of those interactions where I had extra mana, I should have sacked the creatures and gotten the draw. Then I could have played Traxos. But I think we're okay for now. Nezahal coming down doesn't change much. Especially with Traxos. I think he should be leaving mana open for the seal away, but he's not. That's fine. That's an interesting card. Huge felled creeper field. So I will sack this. I think I'm gonna need to get some juice to hopefully cap off this game. That's good. That's better. Alright, and I think that's game. Yep. So there you go. That was a longish game. I hope you guys enjoy watching this CMONSTRUCTS deck piloted by me, carsondood. I can put the list in the description of the video, but it's all here. You probably have these cards. They're all commons and uncommons for the most part, with some splashed in rares and a couple mythics. But yeah, it's a really fun deck to play. It's actually genuinely consistent. The mana base is easy, and it takes people by surprise a lot, so give it a shot. And yeah, never come back. Have a good one, suckers. Ah.